Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. American Horror Story won fans over when it debuted in 2011. Last month, series creator Ryan Murphy confirmed the title of the upcoming 9th series is 1984. We can't wait to see what's going to go down, although it's likely some familiar faces will pop up. Each season of the show has a different theme, with core actors taking on new roles. However, each is linked in multiple ways. Join us as we take a look at the American Horror Story timeline and how every season is connected. You might be surprised at what we've found lurking in the shadows. The creation of Michael Langdon. Back when the series first started, viewers had no idea where it was going to go. American Horror Story was an incredible concept, but nobody knew how popular it was going to become. Looking back on it now, it's easy to see how Season 1 was the basis for everything to come. Set in 2011, the house is home to multiple ghosts, all of whom have serious issues. They're stuck in the house for all eternity, which isn't exactly great. Some of the residents are really evil too, which doesn't help. One of the most interesting parts throughout the season is Tate's complex relationship with Violet. When Violet takes her own life and becomes a ghost, she doesn't initially realize that she's passed. It's clear that Tate loves her, but he's got a shady past. When she finds out, it changes things. Tate also ends up impregnating Mrs. Harmon, who passes away when she gives birth to the baby boy. Tate's mom, Constance, ends up taking the child for her own after the Harmons all perish, but it's clear he's not normal. In one of the last scenes, we see that a toddler Michael has gone away with his nanny. He didn't exactly send her away with a kiss and a thank you mug, let's just put it that way. Of course, Michael would later appear as the main antagonist in Apocalypse. Set in 2019, Langdon shows up to bring about the end of days. The witches managed to successfully save the world, but it's touch and go for a minute there. There's a lot that happens between Langdon's birth and Apocalypse, but how is it all connected? Let's take a look at some key elements. Lana Winters spans the seasons. Lana Winters is a key character in Season 2 Asylum, which is set in 1964. Played by the formidable Sarah Paulson, Lana is a gay woman who ends up being committed to Briarcliff. Initially, she thinks she's getting the scoop on the criminal at large. However, once the powers that be find out her intentions, they check her in for a long stay against her will. All of the usual antics ensue, and at one point, Lana finds herself pregnant with the madman's baby. Say what you like about this show, but you can't say it's tame. It pulls no punches. Lana eventually escapes Briarcliff, but her story doesn't end there. After all, that would be too simple, wouldn't it? The reporter extraordinaire next appears 50 years later in Season 6, Roanoke. Now 86, Lana talks to massacre survivor Lee Harris, bonding over their shared experiences of traumatic events. It's not a nice chat over wine and cheese, as 2 minutes later, Lot Polk bursts through the door and starts shooting. Lana reminds him that it's a live broadcast and tries to calm him down. In Cult, Lana is revisited again, although we only hear about her when Allie Mayfair Richards is approached by her. Lana hopes for an interview about the sadistic clown cult, but Allie declines, wanting to leave it all in the past. A patient in Asylum appears in Freak Show. Briarcliff had a lot more going on than just the standard crazy people and shock therapy that you'd expect. In fact, there was so much going on that viewers may have not grasped the significance of one particular patient. Pepper became an instant hit among fans as the girl that suffered from microcephaly. She just wanted to be loved, but life wasn't that easy for her. Although she wasn't a main character by any means, Pepper did pop up several times throughout Asylum. When Sister Jude found herself on the other side of the bars, the two became friends. 2 seasons later, we learn more about Pepper's story in Freak Show. Elsa Mars is the leader of the gang, taking in the outcasts of the world so that they can live like a family while making her a buck or two. Pepper was among the troupe. While actors were old hat at reappearing as different characters by this point, Pepper was the first character to appear more than once. In the 10th episode of Freak Show, we see Elsa saying goodbye to her loyal friend Pepper. It's not long after leaving Elsa that Pepper finds herself in Briarcliff, where the chaos ensues. It's interesting to note that the seasons can be connected in time frames, even if it's not linear. The Mott family values. If you think that the Addams family had a monopoly on terrifying families with violent tendencies, think again. The Motts might just have them beat. Freak Show introduced us to a whole bunch of interesting characters. From two-headed beauties to men with strange hands, nothing was off limits. One of the most interesting faces to appear was Dandy Mott, a charming socialite who had some skeletons in his closet. Dandy had a passion for one thing and one thing only: the hunt. He had a thirst for it that Ted Bundy himself would have admired. Even when the deranged clown Twisty was done away with, Dandy picked up where he left off. The Mott family wasn't portrayed in a flattering light, as Dandy's mom was also a sandwich short of a picnic. We didn't see the Mott family mentioned again until Roanoke, set a half a century in the future. It turned out that the house Matt and Shelby moved into was once owned by Edward Philippe Mott. To say that he was every bit as eccentric as his descendant Dandy would be an understatement. However, Edward liked to do different things with his time than go after innocent people. On the whole, he seemed like a pretty decent guy as he helps the victims of this season escape so he can live in peace. Scathach was the first Supreme. Fans of all things witchy rejoiced when the third season Coven was released. Starring some favorite faces like Jessica Lange and Sarah Paulson in pivotal roles, it also introduced Emma Roberts into the franchise. Emma has since played several different characters alongside her now ex-boyfriend Evan Peters. Set in 2013, Lange's character Fiona Good wants to stay the Supreme Witch for as long as possible. She's not ready to give up her power and goes to ungodly lengths to preserve herself. Even taking out the competition doesn't help in the end, but you can't blame a witch for trying. Fast forward a few seasons to Roanoke, and we're introduced to Lady Gaga as Scathach. While she doesn't have a great deal to do with the overall events of the season, the character is an important immortal being. At the time, viewers didn't realize that she had any connection at all to the third season of the show. Creator Ryan Murphy enlightened us all when he told Huffington Post that Scathach is actually the first Supreme Witch. Murphy believed that the existence of the character was important to the mythology of the show, and he wasn't wrong. Without her, witches wouldn't have existed at all. Dr. Charles Montgomery and Madison. Let's revisit season 1 again with this interesting fan theory. The reason why the house is possessed was supposedly down to one man, Dr. Charles Montgomery. Montgomery built this house for him and his wife Nora to raise their child in. Unfortunately, he paid the mortgage by doing all sorts of hideous procedures in the basement. That bad mojo was only extended when the doctor's son was kidnapped. Desperate to bring his son back to life, he created some sort of terrifying Frankenmonster. Needless to say, it didn't go down well with Mrs. Nora getting rid of her husband before turning the gun on herself, damning their souls to be tethered to the house forever. The doc also appears in 2015's Hotel when the backstory of Lady Gaga's character, the Countess, is told. She's shown going to the doctor for a procedure back in the late 20s. While there's that definite link, fans have also speculated that Coven's Madison Montgomery is related to him. Considering that writers are extremely careful about the links throughout their series, it's more than likely that this is true. She could be the Doctor's great-great-niece or even a cousin. Who knows? Out of all the characters hopping around the house, the Montgomerys were two of the most intriguing. Twisty and his comics. If you're terrified of clowns, then you probably skipped Freak Show and Cult. Freak Show saw the introduction of Twisty the Clown, a disfigured madman that targeted all and sundry. The loathsome character left a trail of destruction in his wake so great, future generations would remember him. Eventually, Twisty shuffles off the mortal coil and ends up as a part of Edward Mordrake's band of ghouls. The clown's tragic backstory helped to explain the path he chose in life, but didn't excuse his actions by a long shot. His evil doings would have a great impact even after he was gone. In Cult, set in 2016, Twisty has been immortalized in a comic book, Twisty the Clown Chronicles. Little Oz Mayfair loves the comics, but his mama is so terrified of clowns that she literally goes nuts. Twisty appears frequently in Oz's nightmares, and the wide grin entertainers are a staple throughout the season. It's not hard to be terrified of clowns with their big eyes and scary tricks. Heck, their outfits alone are enough to strike fear in the strongest of hearts. It was interesting to see Twisty appear years later, putting another link from one season to another. Queenie's Hotel Hell. No one rocked the heck out of witchery more than Queenie. She took absolutely no sass from anyone and always stood her ground in Coven. Despite all the carnage in the season, she managed to make it out, choosing to join Marie Laveau and study voodoo magic alongside her. Presumably, Queenie had a whale of a time with her new BFF, but it didn't last very long. 2 seasons later, in season 5, Queenie turned up at the problematic Hotel Cortez. What she intended to be a short stay lasted a lifetime when vampire Ramona Royale got her claws on her. It looked like that was the end of the road for Queenie, but miracles do happen. In Apocalypse, the villain of the season and devil spawn, Michael Langdon, manages to get Queenie Spirit out of the hotel. Supreme Witch Cordelia had previously tried, but she couldn't get Queenie out. Michael also resurrects Madison Montgomery purely to prove a point. It all turns out golden for the talented sorceress in the end. We may have not seen the last of her. Billy Dean Howard's talents. We were first introduced to Billy Dean Howard back in Season 1. The medium is pals with Constance, the next-door neighbor to the infamous haunted house and mother of Tate Langdon. When Constance loses her daughter Addie, she contacts a medium and asks her to perform a seance. It's not all sunshine and roses and fond farewells. Billy predicts there will be a child conceived by a human woman and a ghost father who would bring about the end of the world. That child grows up to be none other than Michael Langdon, who is the driving force of apocalypse. Howard references the events in Roanoke, but this isn't her only connection to another series. She appears again in Hotel when Iris asks her to communicate with Liz Taylor's ghostly boyfriend, Tristan Duffy. Now with her own TV show, Howard wants to film a special at Hotel Cortez, but things don't go very well. She's threatened by the residents and she flees in terror. Billy appears once more in Apocalypse when she warns the witches about the powerful ghosts in the haunted house. It's not hard to see how every series works their way into another when it's laid out like this, is it? Do you have a better idea of how everything is intertwined? Let us know in the comments. We've barely touched the tip of the iceberg. Before you get out of here, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe too so you don't miss a thing from us here at The Binger. If you love movies and TV, this is the only place to be. Until next time guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.